Hey guys, welcome to Y&R Daily Update YouTube channel. Today's topics. The Rinse Y&R, December 9th. Michael reopens buried pain with Lauren and triggers a turning point in their story. Michael's anniversary surprise for Lauren pulled their darkest memories to the surface, forcing them to face her affair, his cancer, and her death and still choose their marriage. In the December 9th episode of The Young and the Restless, Michael turned a romantic 20th anniversary surprise with Lauren into a walk through the darkest parts of their shared past, as they revisited her affair, his cancer battle, and the time she was believed dead. The evening forced them to confront the pain they survived instead of just celebrating the highlight reel. By the end of the night, they did more than toast their marriage. They made a conscious decision to keep fighting for it. Key takeaways: Michael recreated his blackjack proposal and led Lauren through the highs and lows of their history. Lauren and Michael revisited her affair, his cancer, and her death, and chose forgiveness again. A tense interruption from Phyllis ended with a fragile reset between all three. What happened on Y&RAT, the GCF? Lauren Tracy Bregman arrived, expecting some kind of surprise, and found the dining room empty. Then she spotted Michael Christian LeBlanc at a blackjack table, echoing the night he proposed. When she asked him to deal her in, he turned over cards reading "Happy 20th Anniversary." And she immediately choked up. Michael kept the setting simple, but loaded it with meaning. He reminded her of their Vegas-style proposal, the lights, the confetti, and all the big gestures that came with it. From there, he pivoted into memory after memory: their first kiss in his office, strip poker, the romantic condo setup. Lauren called it perfect and happily agreed to relive the beautiful moments of her life with the love of her life. Then the tone shifted. Their flashbacks moved from fun to painful. Lauren remembered telling Michael she was pregnant and how scared he had been that he would not be a good father. They talked about how the day Fenzak Tinker was born became one of their happiest, and how that love got tested. Michael brought up the time she was believed dead and the devastation of thinking he had lost her forever. Lauren, in turn, acknowledged the affair that grew out of the strain over Fenn's legal troubles and all the fights that nearly blew their marriage apart. Michael did not stop there. He revisited his cancer battle, remembering how he tried to give her an out from their relationship when he believed his illness would drag her down. She reminded him she refused to go then, and that she would refuse again today. The night was briefly jolted when Phyllis Michelle Stafford walked in, joking about casino night and realizing she had crashed their anniversary. Michael bristled, but Lauren pushed for peace, insisting the three of them shared an unbreakable bond. Flashbacks underscored that history, including the period when Michael and Lauren were the ones who stood by Phyllis after she was left with no one. Why? It matters for Michael and Lauren by deliberately reopening those chapters. The affair, the presumed death, the cancer. Michael and Lauren refused to pretend their 20 years were simple. The anniversary became a choice to face their worst moments straight on and still say, "We are in this." That is the buried pain Michael brought back into the conversation, not a new secret, but an old hurt they chose to own together. It matters because it redefines their marriage as something they actively maintain, not something coasting on nostalgia. And the small thaw with Phyllis suggests that, even after everything, this trio's complicated bond still has value. The fallout for Michael and Lauren: by the end of the evening, their connection felt deeper, not lighter. Michael surprised Lauren with luggage and a trip to Vegas, complete with their sons joining them, tying their past to a family-focused future. They danced, talked about the wonderful, weird, and wacky 20 years behind them, and acknowledged that the next 20 will likely be just as messy. The turning point is simple and real. They revisited the pain that could have broken them and used it as fuel to keep choosing each other. They just said out loud what their love story has cost and decided it is still worth the fight. Subscribe our channel for more latest update. December 9's episode of The Young and the Restless didn't rely on explosive confrontations or shocking twists to make its impact. Instead, it delivered something far more powerful: quiet emotional reckoning. In this installment of The Rinse, Michael Baldwin's attempt to reconnect with Lauren Fenmore unexpectedly reopened old wounds, forcing both of them to confront pain they thought had long been buried. What followed wasn't just another bump in the road for but a genuine turning point that could reshape their future, a conversation that cut deeper than expected at first. Michael's intentions were pure. He wanted to reassure Lauren, to remind her of their shared history and the bond that has survived decades of turmoil. But as so often happens on Y&R, good intentions paved the way to emotional fallout. Michael's words meant to offer comfort, instead dredged up memories of betrayal, fear, and moments when Lauren felt painfully alone. The past, which had been quietly resting beneath the surface of their marriage, suddenly demanded attention. Lauren's reaction made it clear this wasn't about one argument or one misunderstanding. This was about years of emotional scar tissue that never fully healed. Lauren's pain finally gets a voice for a long time. Lauren Fenmore has been the picture of strength. She's endured kidnappings, losses, betrayals, and endless emotional battles, often while holding her family together. In this episode, however, Lauren allowed herself to be vulnerable. She didn't explode. She didn't accuse. Instead, she spoke with the quiet clarity of someone who has carried pain for far too long. Her words revealed a deep fear that Michael, despite his love, has a habit of prioritizing everyone else before her. That realization hit Michael hard. Michael's guilt comes rushing back. Michael Baldwin is no stranger to guilt. His complicated moral compass, loyalty to Victor Newman, and tendency to shoulder impossible burdens have often put him at odds with his own happiness. On December 9th, that guilt resurfaced in full force. As Lauren spoke, Michael began to recognize a pattern he had long avoided acknowledging. Time and again, he chose duty over marriage, crisis over connection, and while Lauren stood by him, those choices left lasting damage. This wasn't a new fight, it was an old one that never truly ended. Why this moment feels different. What made this scene stand out wasn't the conflict itself, but how both characters handled it. There was no shouting, no dramatic walkout. Instead, there was honesty and discomfort. Michael didn't deflect or minimize Lauren's feelings. For once, he listened. That shift alone suggests this storyline may be heading somewhere new. Rather than recycling familiar beats, Y&R appears ready to explore what happens when love isn't enough without accountability. A marriage at a crossroads. Michael and Lauren have survived more than most couples in Genoa City. That history, however, is both their strength and their weakness. The December 9th episode framed their marriage as something fragile, not broken, but vulnerable. The question now isn't whether they love each other, but whether they can evolve. Lauren seems to be reaching a moment of clarity. She can't keep burying her needs to protect the relationship. And Michael, faced with the reality of what his choices have cost, must decide whether he's truly willing to change. Subtle performances, major impact. The power of this episode lay in its restraint. Christian LeBlanc and Tracy E. Bregman delivered performances rooted in nuance rather than melodrama. A pause, a look away, a voice cracking just enough. These small choices made the scene feel painfully real. Less like a soap opera confrontation and more like a conversation many couples recognize all too well. The rinse. Why this story matters. The rinse highlights moments that linger after the episode ends. And this storyline fits that definition perfectly. Michael reopening buried pain wasn't just about the past, it was about the future. This confrontation forces both characters to reassess what they want moving forward, not just what they're willing to endure. For longtime viewers, it also honors the complexity of a legacy couple by allowing them to grow rather than stagnate. What comes next for Michael and Lauren? The episode leaves viewers with uncertainty, and that's a good thing. Will Michael truly step back from the forces that constantly pull him away from Lauren? Will Lauren allow herself to demand more, even if it risks destabilizing the marriage? December 9th didn't answer those questions. Instead, it cracked the door open to a deeper, more emotionally honest chapter. Final thoughts in an episode filled with quieter moments. Michael and Lauren's storyline stood out as the emotional core. By reopening buried pain, Y&R reminded viewers that unresolved wounds don't disappear, they wait. Whether this turning point leads to healing or heartbreak remains to be seen, but one thing is certain: Michael and Lauren's story has changed. And sometimes, the most powerful twists aren't the loudest, they're the ones that make characters and viewers feel seen.